Swapping the 4200 into the 350Z is not a bolt-in process. So I'm going to show you the very easy and definitely not at all complicated 5-step process to put this big old thing into the 350Z's tight little engine bay. In the last video, we covered step 1, which was getting the engine ready to go into the engine bay by removing the accessories, the intake manifold, and the oil pan. Step 2 involved getting this old girl ready to take in all 4.2 liters of aluminum goodness. We did that by removing the HVAC system, cutting some of the false firewall, removing a little bit of material off the actual bell housing, and beating that trans tunnel like it owed me money. Now that we know the 350Z is a willing participant, we've gone ahead and tossed the engine in. We have spaced it off the subframe with a couple planks of wood, which gives us just enough space to clear the steering rack, though it is very close. I will develop a banjo bolt fitting for the steering line so that we don't have to raise the engine, because the valve cover is already plowing the hood. There is about an inch of hood clearance to be gained from relocating the oil fill and shaving down the valve cover. Though when I took off my valve cover to clean it, I noticed there's actually quite a bit of timing chain play. Though this engine does have 180,000 miles on it, it might be normal, but I'm unsure. Should I do the timing chain kit or just send it? What do you guys think? Step 3 of swapping the 4200 in is obviously bolting the engine up to the cross member. But those mounts don't exist, so I'm going to develop some temporary ones to bolt up to the OEM rubber mount so we can get the wood out of the way in order to see if the oil pan that I'm developing will fit, because that's a pretty important thing. I do lack the skills or the proper tools to make some really nice engine mounts, but as they say, I've been grinding all my life. But before making a massive mistake like bolting up the engine when it's not straight in the chassis, let's go ahead and throw this laser on the bell housing so we can make sure that it's at least facing the differential. Now that we know that the engine is as straight as my eyeballs say so, we're going to go ahead and knock out these engine mounts. And there's probably about a million ways to do this correctly. I don't know how to do any of them. So I'm going to get this Sharpie, I'm going to outline this OEM mount, and we're just going to cut it up and drill some holes. And then I did the exact same thing for the base plate for the OEM mounts. This is fitting up on there now, so we're going to throw it into the cross member and we'll tighten that up, and then we will figure out our cross bracing. So geometry was not my favorite class, and I am horrible when it comes to angles and all of that. So this is just kind of how I did it with a magnet and some extra metal. If you know a better way, please let me know, because boy, is this frustrating. But I'm gonna cut this up and we'll see how it fits. So I don't know how horrible of a gap this is. We are going to do our best. The only welding that I've done has been tacking up some broken bolts. So I am going to practice a little bit. I don't know how the camera sensor will take this, so I'm probably not going to record it, but I will show you the result because it is going to be bad. All right, and here's the results of our practice. The metal is stuck together. It does not look pretty. In fact, it looks horrible. But I don't know what I'm doing, so good enough for me. We will go ahead and tack up these temporary engine mounts and let someone else do the actual welding when it comes time. All right, boys, wish me luck. We're gonna do the best that we can. So I will not lie, I feel like I'm disrespecting everyone that welds simply by doing this. However, it did work out. Very close to it not working out because I didn't measure or take this in for it. So great success, I guess. You be the judge. We'll go ahead and throw the other one on and get the other engine mount welded up, and then we can move on to other things. Almost made a mistake here. The engine mounting plate was too large and got stuck underneath the header because I didn't think that through. So we removed the header and it's good. Well, the engine mounts are welded up, the best that I can do, and now we're gonna put them to the test, which is just a little bit terrifying. We're gonna go ahead and lift the engine up with the engine hoist and get this wood out so that we can finally test the weld. Well, the welds didn't break, so that's good. The engine is secure. It is held firmly by this plank of wood because the OEM mounts are so soft that it'll just tip back. So it's roughly level, and now we're going to test the oil pan that I've designed. Initially, I was going to go the cost-effective route of cutting and welding the factory 4200 oil pan, but since you've seen my welding ability on mild steel, I think maybe welding cast aluminum is just outside my skill set right now. So instead, what we're going to do is use engineering software that costs thousands of dollars in order to design a rear sump oil pan for a $300 junkyard engine. It's about balance. And the software did its job. The bolt holes line up fine. There's plenty of space for the girdle. I just did the measurements wrong. So I'm touching a little bit on the transmission, and I'll redesign the shape of the sump so that it doesn't interfere with our downpipe clearance. Get the oil pan redesigned and sent out tonight for laser cutting and bending. And now we can move on to step 5, probably the most important step for this swap, the drive line. The easy route would have been using the AR5, but the gear ratios are horrible for the Z. I'd either be banging the rev limiter in second gear or bogging third. So instead, we're going to do it the hard way. We're going to mate the CD009 to the Atlas Bellhousing. It's a mixed marriage, and the FABbot adapter is the prenup holding it all together. My LSS14's transmission is going to play stunt double today, so I can show you how the adapter stack works. It's the same process as the LS. You put on the adapter plate, put on the Bellhousing, throw on your slave cylinder, and then mate that bad boy up to the engine. As you can see, the FABbot adapter was simply painless, and for my LS friends that are tired of their oiling issues and overheating problems, they also sell an LS Bellhousing to 4200 adapter, so feel free to come over to the team. The engine basically has to be in the passenger seat in order to fit in the engine bay. The problem with that? Well, the shifter is now in another zip code, or about 6 inches further back, so I will need a short shift linkage in order to make this all work. So GK Tech, if you're listening, please call me. Now, let's go ahead and throw this thing in the engine bay. I'm sure, like everything else with the swap, there will be absolutely no problems. Don't mind me, this is just the proper way to do this. Doing this without being able to see where the transmission is in the tunnel, because I'm on the other side of the car, is it's frustrating. Oh yeah, baby. All right, it is in, but it is super tight, like JDM Stance Boy wheel defender fitment tight. And the Bellhousing is super close to the trans tunnel, so I might have to reintroduce my chassis to my friend. Now all I have to do is design a transmission crossmember, but I've got 5 days of SolidWorks experience and 0 days of common sense. I should be 3D scanning this and designing it then, but instead what I'm using is a laser that could be a cat's toy and just a simple tape measure. So I'm sure it's going to work out great. But I will tell you that if it does, I will be buying a lottery ticket. The metal work is done, the engine is mounted, and now comes the real nightmare. Wiring! If you want to watch me have a mental breakdown over 12-volt electronics, follow me and hit subscribe. Now I'm going to go home and stare at wiring diagrams until my eyes bleed. I'll see you guys next time.